This is the Decahedron Podcast with Joe and James, two old dudes talking about RPG stuff.
Hi, James.
Hi, Joseph.
This is a feedback episode.
And whose feedback are we going to listen to this time?
So we're covering two episodes. We're covering our last feedback episode, which was fun with feedback number 2. I guess that one makes this one fun with feedback number 3. And after that, we'll do the feedback we got from the Equipment Emporium episode. One person sent us feedback. That was Jason. He had 2 things to say, I guess. Let's listen to Jason's first message.
Hey guys, this is Jason here. I'm paused after you answer my calls. They're about 8 minutes 30 seconds into your call-in episode 2, I think. Enjoying it so far. Yeah, no worries. We'll disagree on AD&D. It's not because you gave him too much money and you have to get it away training-wise. It's just, that's the way the system's built. You definitely want to give him that money, and training's part of it. I get it's not for all tables, and that's fine. I'm currently in a Friday night AD&D group, and we try to play rules as written for the most part, and we use training, and that means those characters sit out. And, that's a reason to have multiple characters, or it gives the players a chance, if they don't have multiple characters, that they can play one of the NPCs during that time. They can pick up and control one of the hirelings while their character's training maybe. Or, like in my case, I've got a thief who trains at night, because the thief guild does their training at night. So, obviously, he's a little bit limited because he needs to sleep at some point. But he could interact with the party in the morning when he gets back from training, and in the afternoon before he goes to training. But it's just part of the game. I don't know. As far as Barbarians Lemuria, yeah, there is a free version. There's a couple iterations of that game. I sent you a link to the free version. And then there's Legendary, and there's Mythic. Mythic is the newest. It's probably the one to grab. It also has mass combat and naval rules, which you really don't need. But Mythic is the most easily accessible one, I guess. And that's the one most things are written for. But the Legendary version, which is like $5 on drive-thru, is also really good. As far as alignments, yeah, Palladium has nothing to do with cosmic battles, good versus evil faction play. I actually like the idea of law versus chaos, but I remember, the old stories, and I remember old stories are all old, aren't they? But the pulps and stuff that those are based on, and, the idea of the wargaming roots. So I like the idea of being aligned with law or chaos, but I know a lot of modern players don't get that, and they use it more like the Pendragon, idea of this helps point what my characters do with passions and all, and the Palladium alignment system works better with that kind of mentality. Okay, let me get back to your show.
Hey, thanks for that feedback, Jason. Do you have any thoughts, James? Because I wrote down like 4 things I want to talk about.
I'm going to let you start on this one. I'm still thinking on what he said.
Okay, so the first thing is, Jason, you said about the training rules. That's just the way the system is built, and I would disagree with that. I would be willing to bet, although I don't know, and if anybody knows, feel free to send me a correction or to agree with me. That's even better, because I don't think that's how Gary played. I think that is a rule that Gary made up to sell a book. That he did a lot of that. What he did at his table was very different from what he put in there. And I think when they changed the XP balances for monsters and everything, you had to suddenly start giving more gold, at least at the earlier levels, to get people to level up. It's my thought. It's my theory. I don't know. The other thing that you mentioned, Jason, was that the training allows characters to get spread out. So that like not every character is available for every adventure. I do agree that that is a good thing. In my games, that usually happens because of healing. I don't do this. You're automatically healed after a month or whatever. You heal at 1 point per day. And if you're still injured, well, then you have a tactical decision to make. Do you want to go into the dungeon again, or do you want to sit it out? If you set it out, sure, bring in another character instead.
I'm going to jump in there before you go on.
I thought you would. That's why I paused.
I'm at a crossroad there. What I'm going to say is I usually prefer to stay with one character because I want to see the progression. I don't want to have, say for argument, 2, 3, or 4 different characters because one character is down for a month with training. I do like the idea that the character may need a mentor. I would prefer that that you say he has a mentor that he goes and talks to occasionally, and not use the training time for that. Just he gets help here and there, and he's learning. So the downtime is always
I actually kind of like
for
that.
me. We're on opposite sides.
No, I just said I like that.
Oh,
That I kind of like. This is going to be one of those times when we actually agree on something. I like the mentor thing. And I will say, when we were running the Barony campaign, you were juggling multiple characters with no problem at all. In fact, you were excelling at it. So, yeah. The other thing that Jason said was the Barbarians of Lemuria. He did send us a link. I grabbed it from 1KM1KT, and I'll throw that link in the show notes if I remember. I sent a copy to James. I don't know if he looked at it. It's full of all sorts of pirated artwork. That's interesting. But that's all I looked at so far. I will give it a deeper look. We might even put it on our review list.
Put it on the review list. I will say I scanned it. I did not do any in-depth reading. There was a couple things that caught my eye, and I probably read maybe that one page here and there.
Yeah, I was spending my game book time doing White Star so we could do the review. And then the other thing he talked about in this one was alignment factions. Jason, you and I sound like we agree completely on that. I really have nothing to say other than clearly you're brilliant because we agree.
Anyone who agrees with you is brilliant, right?
That's the definition.
And anyone who agrees with me knows nothing.
No, that's not true. They're just confused and need to be shown a better way.
Oh, a better way. Lawful over chaos. So are you the lawful and the chaos?
I that seems accurate.
Okay, I think that was the end of his, or did we have one more thing he mentioned?
Nope, that was it for that one. Let's play his next one.
Hey guys, finished the caller feedback episode number 2, I think it's called. Thank you for putting that out and responding to all my nonsense calls. Yeah, you know what? Death Spiral probably is a good thing, and I may look at it in the wrong way. I guess, to me, Rysis is the perfect game for, obviously you can do it for experienced people just to drop in when you just have a few minutes as a filler game. But it's also something for new players. And for new players, I think maybe the Death Spiral is a bad thing, but maybe not. I mean, maybe I need to rethink how I look at that. So I appreciate that perspective, Joe, and I will consider that. As far as Boot Hill not being a role-playing game, that's interesting. So, you know, I've run and played Boot Hill. I'm playing a sporadic game within a Norton and Bandit's Keep that he actually puts up his actual plays on YouTube. I guess so. The question is, what's the definition of a role-playing game? Maybe that's something you guys could do for an episode. You know, why isn't, you know, what do you need for it to be a role-playing game? To me, a role-playing game is a game where you're using some kind of randomizer to be involved on decision points, right? Be it cards, be it dice, whatever, but some kind of randomizer is involved. Otherwise, it's just storytelling back and forth, right? So you have to have a randomizer in there. But what else is required for a role-playing game? From listening to you talk about Starfaring, you know, maybe it's you take over a certain character, but some games have you do troop play where you play multiple characters, right? Ars Magica. So I'm curious on your definition of role-playing game. I think that might be a neat episode. And I've prattled on far too long, so I will let you go. Keep up the great work.
Hey, Jason, thanks for those words, and thanks for all the feedback that you sent, Jason. It really is great. Did you want to go first on this one, or did you want me?
I'll go first, I'm thinking, and let you throw in some. I do love the feedback. I'm not sure of what I like or dislike, but I'm sure the last part, we need to add that to our list again.
You already did.
Oh, I already have. Okay. I didn't know it was there already. The Rysis, I'm not familiar with it enough. I looked at it, but I do not have enough knowledge to say anything on that. So I'm going to let Joseph go on that because I know that's one of his babies.
Ha! Little does James know that he played Rysis. I just didn't tell him that he was playing that game.
Okay, that's nothing new. You change your game every other month.
That is why my blog is called Vagabond GM, because I would roam from game to game. All right, so yeah, there were like 3 things I wrote down, 4 things maybe. So the what is a RPG? Yes, we already put that down on our list for an episode. Thanks to your suggestion, Jason. So thanks for that. One thing I will comment on quickly is that you said you need a randomizer. So does that mean that Amber, the diceless role-playing game, is not a role-playing game in your mind? ? Death Spiral and Rhesus for new players is where you put. Yeah. So I think the Death Spiral does make it good for new players because that's where you point out to them as soon as they start to go down, you say, look, now you only have this many dice. Your chances of winning are even less. You might want to consider running away. I mean, it's a new player. You give them instruction, just like you tell them what dice to roll at other times. You tell them you don't make them do it. You might want to run away because things are going to get tougher and tougher at this point. Or you might want to see if you're lucky. So no, I think Rhesus is good for that. I find it interesting that you say Rhesus and I say Rhesus. I used to say Rhesus, and S. John Ross changed my mind. He has a line somewhere where he says that it rhymes with something. And so I said, oh, so it must be Rhesus. But I can't remember what he says it rhymes with anymore. Anyway, so yeah, thanks for that feedback, Jason. And that was the only feedback we got for that episode. The next feedback we have is for Equipment Emporium. We did a review. We're going to listen to feedback. Surprisingly, it's from Jason. Haven't heard from him in a while.
Yes, I think he comments on all episodes.
And we appreciate, by the way, we, let me look it up. Brilliant live podcasting here. We are sitting at 130 plays lifetime, which I did a quick introduction to our last episode as we went out. And I thanked everybody, but I really thank them for the feedback too, because without feedback, we're just sitting here and we're talking to each other. And it sounds like, it feels like there's nobody listening, right? And so the fact that Jason sends us feedback every episode, in my book, that makes him a superhero, and he's wonderful and he's awesome. And he just doesn't do it for us. He does it for so many other people. Not only that, his most recent, by the time this airs, maybe it was 2 ago, podcast, he said some great and wonderful things about our podcast. And Evil Jeff, we don't have any feedback from him this week, but Evil Jeff over at Minions and Musings, he said great stuff about our podcast. I think he was the first one to mention it to others. So every listener we have, we thank Evil Jeff for, and then Jason, because it was probably Jason heard from Evil Jeff, but between the two of them, they have said awesome things and they are spreading the word. And guys, I just don't have the words for how much I appreciate that. Anyway, let's listen to Jason's message.
Hey guys, this is Jason. Just listened to your episode on the Basic Fantasy Equipment Emporium and thought it was very interesting. I thought it was a great review. I think that's a good format for you guys to review products. It's interesting hearing your ideas. And yeah, the Basic Fantasy line's great. I mean, they're providing a real great service. And it's an ongoing project that people can get involved with. And, it's just pretty wonderful all around, really, when you think about it. It's there at the beginning of the OSR and really pushing the idea of making the stuff your own and keeping the content free to where people can share and reuse it, as long as you tag on the appropriate licenses at the end. So great job. Looking forward to what you guys do next. Take care.
Hey, Jason. Thanks for that. Hey, James, is it just me? Did Jason sound a little down there? He usually sounds a little more energetic.
I'd say more chipper, but...
Yeah, but hey, Jason, I hope everything's okay. I hope you were just tired or something. If there's anything happening in your life, I mean, I'm just some dude who's thousands of miles away, but if you want someone to listen to you, I'll listen. I hope you're okay. But anyway, beyond that, I'm glad you like the format of the reviews. We just did another one. We just recorded it. You will probably hear it after this episode. It will probably go out Wednesday, but we reviewed White Star. So yeah, thanks for that feedback. And yeah, I will agree. The Basic Fantasy line is amazing and it's awesome. The only reason why it doesn't have a higher place in my love of OSR games is that White Box, Fantastic Medieval Adventure game, holds the top spot because it's more OD&D than Basic Fantasy is. But that's it. As a product line, I think it's an amazing product line. Their adventures, Basic Fantasy's adventures, are top notch. Their printed products are great. The fact that not only do they give you a free PDF to download, but you can download the actual word processing files to update, that's amazing. I know that Chris Gonnerman does Iron Falcon, which is his recreation of OD&D and Greyhawk. It's a little too close to the OD&D for my taste. I do like some newfangled gaming ideas mixed in with my OSR, which is the only reason why that one's not higher on my list. But yeah, Basic Fantasy, great line. I love them. James?
I'm actually going to have to look more for their products. I liked most of the products. The only things that we had issues were basically the way it was presented, I think, was the only bad part of that review.
I would suggest for you, actually, it's on our review list. The core game, Basic Fantasy role playing game, is on our list to review. Maybe we should move that up higher on the list, although we need to get away from OSR stuff for a bit. But that's where I would start. Like I said, some of their modules are great. They have some that's pretty much the same map, but populated differently for different levels, which I think is brilliant. Right here, my grubby little hands is module JN1, which is the Chaotic Caves, which is very, what was that expert module? Basic module. Dang it. It's kind of their recreation of that. It's a nice little module, though.
Well, I've never known you to use modules. Are you that impressed with them?
I like going, well, that's never known. See, I have my all-time favorite module. I have an all-time favorite module, and I run it. So I have used modules, but more often, like a lot of people do, I go through them and I steal ideas out of them. But also, if you're running a quick little pickup game, it's a nice way to do it. It's a nice way to calibrate your level of danger and treasure with other people. Yeah.
You mean the chart in the Dungeon Master's Guide on how to make a proper encounter level? It doesn't work well?
Oh, you need to see the Swords and Wizardry way. I love the Swords and Wizardry way of giving treasure. Oh, it's beautiful. It's in white box. That's on our review list. You will see it when we do that. Okay. That's the way I've gone to. All right, let's
we go to Kevin?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. Let's listen to Kevin.
Okay.
Hey, Joe and James. It's Kevin calling in from the Red Caps podcast. We just finished listening to the Basic Fantasy Equipment Emporium episode, and I just wanted to say great job on doing that. Always love to hear Basic Fantasy products being talked about. I'm a huge fan of it, and basically everything that Chris Gotterman has done. As far as some comments on the episode, some of the things I'm going to say you guys addressed near the end of it, but I had jotted down the thought at the beginning of the episode, so I'm going to say it anyway. Yes, it's not a supplement that is going to be useful for folks who are running different genres. It is made for the Basic Fantasy RPG game, and fantasy, as you mentioned, is in the name. That's what it's there for. The minimum wage point that you brought up, I thought was a really interesting discussion. I would say keep in mind that most of the time you're buying something from a smaller village or town, and they know who the locals are, and they are going to charge adventurers prices. Thus, the supplements often list the prices for adventurers because that's who's asking for it. Your NPC, your DM-run NPC that lives in the third house down the road from the shop isn't going to ask the DM, hey, how much does it cost for a box of chalk? They're going to either barter or have a different price list with that shopkeep than an adventurer would. So I think that's where the disconnect is. I get where you're coming from, though, from a realism or simulation standpoint, but I think you have to be careful about how far down that simulation path you go before things get really, really chunky. And lastly, the book is open source, like you mentioned, and I think that would be an awesome thing for you guys to jump in on their forums and point out some stuff, especially that point you made about the copper, bronze, and tin. I bet you that would be something that if you bring up in their forums, they would change in the next release of the PDF. So definitely, if you have the time, jump in and offer some of those small corrections, and it just makes the product better for everybody else. So anyhow, I really enjoyed the show. I've enjoyed all the episodes that I've listened to thus far, and I just wanted to say keep up the great work, and I'll talk to you all again soon. Take care.
Hey, Kevin. Oh, and everyone, Kevin is from the Red Caps. Yeah, I cannot talk today. James, what is up with that? The Red Caps podcast, which I hadn't listened to before he sent the feedback, so I listened to a few of the episodes. I like them. So thanks again for the feedback, Kevin. You might be hearing some from me soon. Let's talk about minimum wage. James, did you hear Kevin? He called me a simulationist. Oh, I am so hurt.
Hey, it works where it works, but I would say I have listened to one of his podcasts, one of the early ones, because I was looking for something to catch my eye. But definitely liked what I got out of it. It was an interesting podcast.
Actually, so I'm not really much of a simulationist at all, by the way, Kevin. That's why it hurt a little when you said that. No, I guess I am. Right, that's that old gamer narrativist, simulationist triumvirate that people used to use a bit. And the truth is that no one is any one of those. You're somewhere in that triangle, maybe a little more towards one than the other two, but you're probably still in the middle. You've got a little bit of all of them. But see, I think, Kevin, the main thing that you're describing is the trope where the characters come in from out of town. They're the strangers in town with all this money. And so the locals are fleecing them, which is a trope. But as James will tell you, of late, my games tend to revolve around a community, and the player characters are members of that community. They are not just there fly by night here this week to take care of the monster of the week and then go on to another town. They are there as part of the town. They live there. They have relationships there. Sometimes they even have businesses there, James.
Failing businesses with the last part of that game for the whole town being destroyed.
Had you not failed at your adventuring, it wouldn't have been destroyed. And it gives the players... it gives the players stakes beyond themselves without saving the world. They just have to worry about the barony. But anyway, so they're not the outsiders. And so having a separate price list seems wonky. So, Kevin, you said that it would probably be a good idea for us to go on the forums and mention those things like the bronze and stuff. I had thought about that in the past, and I don't want to, I don't know, I feel like running a forum is a bit of an obligation, saying, okay, here I am. I'm going to be an active member of this community, and I'm going to engage in the conversations. I'm going to read what other people say. I'm going to respond to them, and I'm going to say original things. I think log on just to say, hey, I made a mistake. It rubs me personally the wrong way, and I don't have time for that level of involvement in that product as much as I would love to. And so that's why I haven't. I think James just hasn't because he didn't know those forum existed. But I will let James speak to it on his own.
I know of forums, but no, I did not know about this forum. I am going to jump in, but I'm on the line of Joseph. I don't have a lot of time to put into it, and a lot of times I feed off of ideas that I can't truly put in writing. There are ideas that I want to talk to Joseph on, and I'm putting the notes there, and he's not understanding what I'm saying. So I'll actually talk it through with him. So I am not the best person for forums.
I mean, if you want to put it there on our behalf, Kevin, feel free. I won't be offended. But yeah, so that's why I haven't. Like I said, I view joining a forum as an obligation, and I don't have time to live up to that commitment, so I don't do it. I used to be very active in the Fudge online communities and in the Rhesus online community. Rhesus. See, now Jason has me doing it. The Rhesus online community. Both of those have died, and I don't have time in my life for a new one. I think that was back when I only had one job. I have 2 jobs now.
You work? I thought you only did this.
Oh, yeah, because it brings in so much money. Oh, yeah, we are eligible to run ads now, but I have no intention of doing that.
Come on, you get a whole 10 cents.
I don't even think we'd get that with 124 views. I don't know what the rates run, but yeah, it's not worth it. But anyway, thanks for the feedback, and I really appreciate it. And I think I have subscribed to, let me whip out my podcast listener here. Let me see if I subscribed. I know I listened. Problem is I'm starting to get more podcasts than time.
With all your running and bike, no?
Well, see, that's the problem. My running test was last month. So I took a little break. I haven't done much running since then. And the snowy weather will be upon us soon. And that always puts an end to my running. And I don't have that commute in out of work every day. So, sad. I'll live.
I sort of missed that. It was either podcasts or books on CD to take that hour ride. So you got through quite a few books quickly. For me.
All right. Yeah, I get it. A lot of people do that. That's all we have, I think, James. I don't see any other feedbacks. Oh, nope. There were some feedbacks for my solo episode, but I'm going to do that as a solo because that just seems to make sense in my mind. I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else?
No, Joe, I do not. And you have a good weekend.
You have a great weekend, and you have a great week. Until next time we record, thanks for joining me, and thank you, audience, for listening to us.
Thank you, audience, and have a joyful week.
Hey, our closing's getting better. Bye.
Not much.
Say bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Decahedron Podcast. Send email to feedback@decahedron.com. Remember to spell decahedron with a K. Voice feedback can be sent through the Anchor website or by calling 562-RPG-CAST. That's 562-774-2278. Links are in the show notes. Music is courtesy of Kevin MacLeod, logo by Design Cat. Thanks for listening.